Elite Facts presents
When school trips go wrong.
10.
Barcelona is a city full of culture and beauty in everything from its culture to nightlife, but for most school kids, they just want to have some crazy fun. This school trip ended up at a water park one day. It's no Arctic Circle in Spain, so the kids were told to apply ample sun lotion and have fun, and this is where things went wrong. Never trust a kid to be intelligent. It'll end in tears and blisters. One child was so severely burnt he required hospitalization treatment for the burns to his body. The mother, of course, blamed the teachers and not her darling child. The teachers were quick to point out that if the child had listened to them, he wouldn't need to spend 7 days in a hospital getting his skin scraped off his body.
9.
A teacher in New York took her forensic science students on a trip to do some investigating in Seattle in 2014. The small group of students were told to be ready to do some work. The teacher had gone above and beyond, and she had set up a fake crime scene. There was a body, items scattered everywhere, and the kids were told to investigate the area as best they could. There was even an arm attached to some trees. Except the arm wasn't part of the setup, and nor was it fake. It was real. The scene turned grisly when the teacher realized, and soon enough, the real CSI were called to investigate the very real murder scene.
8.
Geography teachers aren't known for being the fun-loving kind, and this trip isn't any different. This guy organized a trip to the Scottish Highlands in autumn to camp. The trip didn't get off to the best start when the party was late because a child pulled the emergency brake on the train and caused one of the kids to impale an eye on a train lamp. The teacher had to desperately plead with this guy to not arrest the entire group for attempted murder. The rest of the weekend was spent pooing in latrines in 50 miles per hour hailstorms and not having enough toilet paper.
7.
A man in prison managed to escape while serving time for robbery and battery. He quickly became a fugitive. He decided that in order to survive, he should hide in plain sight. So he became a chaperone on a school trip. It wasn't long before he was spotted and chased by the cops, all in front of the kids. He turned himself in not long after.
6.
A trip to the morgue might not seem like a cheerful experience, but it's essential when taking a career in biology on. One class got something of a shock on their trip, though. A section of the morgue was dedicated to human brains and their storage in many jars and shelves. The kids were taking it all on boards when one noticed something that tore them all up inside. Earlier on in the year, a classmate of theirs, Dwayne Bedley, had died in a traffic accident, and as was common practice, his body submitted for assessment in a local morgue. By way of coincidence, the class were looking at his brain in a jar. The group was obviously very upset and grief-stricken, and all had to call their parents to come pick them up. The school reported a 45% switch from biology not long after that trip.
5.
In 2004, a teacher wanted to take a group of 39 Girl Guides on a lovely trip. This picturesque and beautiful mountain was their destination, a 2,500-foot beast that looks lovely in all the images. The problem is the kids were not prepared and still wore their skirts and trainers. The mountain looked more like this on that particular day, and soon enough they were lost. Did I mention the teacher had brought no map or supplies with her, too? They wandered aimlessly around the woods for over 4 hours in deep fog and mist with only some bin bags to keep them dry and warm. She managed to call 911 once the mist dissipated and they were found in a bad state.
4.
Some complete nerds from a biology class went on a school trip to Geneva, and the entire thing was decided to be boring. A couple of the kids took matters into their own hands. Grabbing some booze from a local store, they went and hung out in a local car park and chugged down some beers and Alka-Pops until they were too drunk to think right. The next move was the nail in the coffin. They hit the red light district. One of the boys had their money stolen by a woman working at a night spot, which led to them getting caught. The police took no action, but the boys were sent home early from the trip.
3.
While on a school trip, a 12-year-old girl from the Netherlands began to experience violent stomach pain. After an ambulance was called, she realized she was about to give birth. She was then rushed to a nearby building where she gave birth to a healthy baby.
2.
Some elementary kids were expecting to have a great time as they went to a crop of cotton as part of a trip to have them learn where things come from. Once they got there, it turned to be a nightmare. The group were treated like actual slaves, screamed at to do the picking. At one point, a man with a whip came along, and they were told not to look at their masters, the masters being the tour guides running the trip. Apparently, the teachers saw nothing wrong with this until they took a bus of crying kids home.
1.
On a tennis trip to Portugal with 29 pupils, one teacher decided he'd be more friend than teacher to them. While there, she allowed the students to drink alcohol and stay at a nightclub until after 4:30 a.m. On the last night, she allowed a 17-year-old male to use her hotel room to have sex with a girl he'd picked up in a club. The teacher was filming the whole thing.
Thanks for watching another amazing video, folks. Subscribe for more from Elite Facts.